So, as many of you know, I have a book um, coming out probably winter time. I've got to get Nick Manners done, Junior Witter's done, Ray Morton's done, Michael Shower's done, and then the little big man. But you know, I interviewed someone yesterday, and I didn't think Duke Mackenzie's chapter could be beat. But I tell you what, this is as close as it gets. So I interviewed a guy from Essex who was living over in America, Gibraltar, I think he is now. So he was very close to Mickey for the last 12 years of his life. So he was telling me a tale about how he went in I think it was a pub in Bethnal Green called the Metropolis or something like that. Anyway, so he was in this bar and there were strippers on. And I think they'd been on a sour, and then they were having a couple of. Mickey wasn't really a big drinker, but I think they'd been for a meal and they were having a beer or a glass of champagne, and strippers come up, and I think Mickey, they'd give him a couple of quid or whatever, and anyway they went off, danced off somewhere else, and they came back about 10 minutes later. And they were kind of persistent in basically more money. And Mickey said, look, I'll give you X amount of money, whatever, sod off. Kind of an argumentative altercation developed. And left with the stripper basically not happy. And she said, right, I'm going to get you dealt with. So she comes back a couple of minutes later with this guy who was like the biggest man you've ever seen, 6'8", huge, big black guy. So he's kind of come over like that, and he's angry because this stripper's give him a real sad story about how terrible she's been treated. The bouncer's come over and he said, which one is it? And she said, him over there with the glasses and the flat nose. And the bouncers just went, oh, hello, Mr. Duff. I didn't know it was you. And then just proceeded to bombard him with, just obviously knew who he was, knew how influential he was. I dare say probably, he had probably most fighters' phone numbers at a call, but he wasn't like that. He was completely fearless. I remember John L. Gardner said to me, Nick Manners as well said the other week, he said, do you know, these days when you see the likes of your Eddie Hearns or your Frank Warrens and Oscar De La Hoyas and all that, they've got bodyguards, and Mickey would go to shows on in Leeds and Halifax and Liverpool, and there'd be crowds, hostile, really rowdy crowds in the 70s and the 80s. It was the early 90s, and Nick said he would just walk through them, no matter how hostile and, hectic. He just did not care. He was completely fearless. May have been small, a bit like a honey badger, but the guy just did not give. He just literally could hold his own against anyone. I think anyone who's read the 20 and Out biography, it tells a story about Rocky Marciano putting his hands on him. Of course, he was on the Cray twins list to be murdered. When Ronnie Cray was arrested on May the 8th, 1968, there was a letter in his Crombie found by Leonard Nipple Reid, who was a close friend of Mickey Duff's, and there was a list and it said, these men must die. And when Mickey was told that, he said, obviously everything with him was humour, and he had that kind of dry East End Jewish humour. And very quick-witted, very charismatic. And when he was told that he was on Ronnie Cray's list for Men That Must Die, he said, I hope they do it in alphabetical. I hope he does it in alphabetical order, because there was, I think Terry. No, I better not say his name actually. Yeah, there was a list anyway, and I think Mickey Duff was not far. I know there's people in front of him, and as Mickey said, I hope he was planning on doing it in alphabetical order, because there was one or two in front of him. But yeah, listen, the guy was extremely comical and hugely influential in the British boxing, even in fact world boxing. But I very much buy into it was an end of an era when he retired, and certainly when he died. So he retired in 99, and then he sadly passed away 15 years later. Yeah, is that right? Yeah. But yeah, what a legacy he left, and what, you know, for a kid who was brought over here, primary school age, and a poor Polish immigrant, grew up in the East End, which is mainly where a lot of the poor Polish Jews kind of, you know, set up shop. But, you know, the guy had 123 amateur fights, 69 professional fights. He was a trainer, manager, promoter, anything in boxing. He did it all. In my opinion, the greatest boxing man of all time. Frank Warren said very much the same. Jim Watt said the same. You know, just littered with. I've spoken to. I've got a couple of my dictaphone. I think 34 in total. So I need to speak to another 6 people. Frank Warren was going to speak to me in April, but he had something to do with Usyk and Fury. He did say to me the week after, we'll do a Zoom. And I said, no. I said, so I am going to come down this some point this year. I've got the Paul Sykes books for him as well. Yeah. In fact, that was Mickey Duff's show when Sykes fought John L. Gardner. John L. Gardner was Mickey Duff's fighter. But yeah, he was colossal. He was small in stature, but he was a giant. Hence the title of the book, The Little Big Man. And I would have loved to have met him. I would have been starstruck. You know, he'd just everyone in the world he'd ever met, every fighter. And I'm not saying he met him for a picture and an autograph. He knew him. He'd been out for dinner with him. Yeah, Jack Dempsey's close friends of Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard. There's a funny story in that actually, which I'm not going to drop. I'm going to keep all for the book. This book is going to be a lengthy book. I think I've got near enough 70,000 words done. I'm aiming for 100,000 words. I think the biggest book I've ever done is about 94,000. But this is a real labour of love. I have got massive hopes for it doing things in the boxing literacy world. But this is a labour of love, and it's just been an honour and a real eye-opener to walk into his life and meet some of the characters who I didn't know him, never met him. So I've written the introduction and I've written the end. I've written one chapter as well, which I've called it Mickey's Manor, which is, you know, a lot of East End stuff. But ultimately, I'm there, but all the guts and the substantial, riveting, humorous, insightful, just stories of a totally unforgettable and unique character. Mickey Duff, The Little Big Man, written by myself, Jamie Boyle. The foreword has been written by none other than Barry McGuigan. he said to me, he said, you know, Mickey Duff often banged heads with my manager, Barney Eastwood, but Barney knew that Mickey's knowledge and was worth his weight in gold, and what he brought to the table was completely invaluable. Yeah, what a guy. And there'll never be another Mickey Duff. You know, it's sad. All these figures like your Mickey Duffs, your Ernie Fossey's, your Terry Lawless, your Denny Mancini's, George Francis, your Brendan Ingalls, your Tommy Millers. They've all been replaced by guys in suits from Essex and Kent who they're not really boxing people. Yeah, that's just my opinion. You know, Colin Hart said to me, and Kelly Maloney, she said, if he's looking down at the state of boxing and, you know, all these YouTubers fighting people and Tommy Fury, who he's a nice enough lad and he's half decent, but he hasn't even fought for an English title yet. And here he is making 3 million in one fight. It's, you know, world champions probably never made that in their career, and they can do it in one night, which is, yeah, it's ruined boxing, in my opinion. It's more of an entertainment business. It's kind of becoming like the WWF wrestling. I fell out of love with boxing many years ago, but I do like kind of studying the old generation, the 70s and the 80s, and I think Mickey Duff's kind of the peak of his powers was probably the late 70s to the early 80s. You know, he was bringing Marvin Hagler over here and fighting Alan Minter at Wembley, and yeah, you could, you know, and obviously he had your Bozer Edwards and the John the Beast Mugabe, which I spoke to the other day. John the Beast Mugabe couldn't speak a word of English years ago. And when I spoke to him the week, I was thinking, I hope you can, and it's probably not got that, it's not got that much better in all the years he's, but anyway, I was really grateful and honoured to have spoke to such an absolute legend, a fearsome, monstrous puncher. You know, the boxing anoraks, the historians will know who John the Beast Mugabe was. Fought Marvin Hagler, fought Gerald McClellan when he was 31 by then. He was completely finished. But yeah, what a fact, until he fought Hagler. In fact, it was well after that. He'd never had a fight that went the distance. So he either knocked them out or he was knocked out a handful of times. I think he might have went the distance once or twice towards the end. But what if Mickey Duff, when he saw him at the was it the Olympics, 78, maybe around late 70s, early 80s. I can't think off the top of my head what the Olympics was, but he said as soon as I seen him, all I seen was an animal. I just had to sign him. But yeah, Mickey Duff, I've never been, I mean, this will be my 27th book by the time it comes out, and I've just became obsessed. I never get bored, and kind of speaking to people and just listen to the stories, and yeah, I am surprised, but I'm very kind of pleased that I'm amazed that no one like Steve Bunce or anyone kind of has come along, and, you know, he's been gone 10 years now. His biography come out in 99, which was a quarter of a century ago. And I am amazed that no one has kind of come and did anything. I think there's something on my phone, so it looked like I had a big mark on. But yeah, do you know what? And I think when this comes out, I can really see someone coming along and making some kind of... well, I was talking to someone, I'm going to get the book out, and then because I have been involved with 3 documentaries, and I spoke to an award-winning filmmaker about 2 months ago, and I said, listen, I've got all these kind of contacts, they'll speak to me, let's do a documentary. But I just said, look, let me get the book out first, watch how kind of huge it becomes, and then we'll see what happens. But as I said, I am astonished that no one's come and written something, because he was such a one-off, such a Harry Levine, Jack Solomons were running the boxing, and he kind of, obviously Harry Levine died 1979, so kind of Mickey learned everything off them and took the baton off them. And obviously when Mickey was basically the young Frank Warren done to Mickey what he'd done to them, which of course Father Time waits for no man. I did a video about the day, and I'm just looking now at how grey I'm becoming. I'm just kind of getting used to it. But yeah, it's never regret growing old, because it's a privilege denied to many. But yeah, listen, Mickey Duff, I am really, really excited to get this book. And yeah, going back to the story, which it will be the last story I kind of talk about, because obviously I want people to buy the book. But yeah, there's just so many comical tales all the way through. As I said, I've done 70,000 words, and it's just, I think he was a guy who was funny and he never meant to be funny. It just became natural to him. Yeah, do you know, I just felt like relaying stories out, but as I said, I have to shut my mouth. So yeah, let us know your thoughts. Did you meet him? Yeah, I'm always eager and really keen to listen to other people's tales on totally unforgettable. As a fighter, he kind of fought out of Aldgate, but he wasn't from Aldgate. He was a Whitechapel guy. Yeah, and yes, he was from Poland, but very much a Cockney. He grew up very much an East Ender, and of course he's remembered in Cockney rhyming slang for Mickey Duff, which means wacky backy. And yeah, that in itself as a sign of success. Where's me Mickey Duff? And it changes so long. These days my Britney Spears, everyone, people know about the apples and pears, and yeah, it is fascinating to listen to with Cockney rhyme slang. Very rarely gets spoken of these days, but when I have been in people's company and I've heard them sing, and it's just like, it's so impressive to listen to. And of course, it's a huge part of the East End's heritage. Anyway, I've rambled on. I only meant to do 10 minutes, 18 minutes. Let us know your thoughts, guys. Mickey Duff, the little big man. If you want to follow the page, I'm going to put the Facebook page in the link, in the bio. So click on the link and you'll go on the Facebook page. Have a great weekend, guys. Oh God, this dog has just farted. He's literally under my feet. So right, I'm going to go. Speak soon.